She had all the favors that she was pulling in, and she had a ton of money behind her, and they were completely arrogant, and all the liberal elite in the media thought there was no chance that she was going to lose. She's 95% shoo-in to win the presidency, and she walked around like she was 95%.
She already thought she won.
Let's say it all does go pear-shaped. November 18th, 2016, and for whatever reason, it's President-elect Donald Trump. In that circumstance, is Hillary Clinton moving to Canada?
First of all, I do not.
Forget everything you think you know about political smackdowns, because this one starts where the script normally ends. Imagine Joe Rogan casually dropping a comment so sharp it sends Hillary Clinton's entire legacy into a silent reboot. No shouting, no theatrics, just pure, unfiltered Rogan dismantling her like she accidentally wandered onto his mat during sparring. This isn't a debate, it's a comedic autopsy you'll replay just to make sure he actually said that. Buckle up. This gets weird fast.
It's one of those things where women want a woman to be president so bad. They want one for the team so bad. And then there's so many people from the left that think she has the best chance of beating Trump or whoever is on the right. They're willing to exonerate her from so many different horrendous things. One of the things I always point out, like, people want to talk progressive, being left-wing, and she didn't even believe in gay marriage until 2013. Yeah, she really did say that.
Yeah, she really did say that after she just got done Gaddafi and then laughed about it.
We came, we saw, he died.
We came, we saw, he died. The fact that any human being would ever do that. By the way he died, that's some dark.
Now picture this. Joe Rogan leans forward like a man who just heard Hillary Clinton reboot her political ambitions again, and it hits him the same way old leftovers hit the microwave. Loud, messy, and somehow more dramatic than anyone asked for. He shakes his head, wondering how she manages to reappear in the news cycle the way malfunctioning software keeps asking for updates.
You would see, like, is Hillary Clinton a criminal? You would find Donald Trump criminal. Did Donald Trump criminal crime? You wouldn't find things on Hillary Clinton.
You look at Hillary. She uses the phrase "handmaiden to the patriarchy," which I think she means she's bashing Monica Lewinsky. I'm not sure.
You had to keep digging and digging and digging. If you wanted to find positive things on Hillary Clinton, you could find them quite easily. If you wanted to find positive things on Donald Trump, you wouldn't find anything.
Well, let me first say, I cannot diagnose Donald Trump. I don't know Donald Trump, but I would say that someone who spends time creating a very grandiose view of themselves.
And it was on purpose. They were doing this. And that through this, they...
Every time Hillary steps into the spotlight, it's like the universe whispering, "Thought you were done? Absolutely not." Rogan can't understand how one person can carry this much political deja vu without triggering a national recall. Again, Rogan starts talking about Hillary's decision-making like it's a malfunctioning navigation system, constantly recalculating, always confused, and completely convinced it's right, even when it drives you into a lake.
Jamie, go to that Hillary Clinton thing that I texted you today. This one is wild.
We do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country. We know now that too many people come in for medical care as it is. We certainly don't want them having the same benefits that American citizens are entitled to have.
How about that? More MAGA than Trump.
And then you couldn't believe you watched.
He says her political instincts run on the same technology as those old-school flip phones that needed 3 minutes to load a text message. She's always prepared, always rehearsed, and somehow still surprised when things don't go her way. Rogan laughs, imagining her internal monologue buffering mid-conversation, as if her brain is loading the safest response from a database of pre-approved phrases.
That's why I give Americans a lot of credit. If you listen to Europeans talk, but they're always marveling at how quote-unquote dumb Americans are. I don't think Americans are dumb, and I think Americans in a lot of ways are very fair-minded too.
Well, there's that, but there's also the fact there's a two-party system where if you are on the left, you have to support whoever's on the left. That's why all these people are lining up to support Hillary Clinton and ignoring left and right, all the crazy evidence against her just being completely full of shit.
Here's the kicker. Rogan goes off on how Hillary always seems like she's preparing for an election, even when no election exists. He says she walks into rooms scanning for voters like she's in a first-person campaign simulator. Even when she claims she's done, she carries herself like a politician waiting for a drum roll. Rogan thinks she probably rehearses concession speeches in the mirror just to stay sharp. And whenever a camera turns on, her smile resets like she just installed the newest version of Political Optics 2.0.
Going on. Like, I was infuriated when people that I knew that I was friends with were trying to tell me that Hillary Clinton was a good choice. And that's the same choice. I'm like, look, I don't know if she's murdered people, but I know that I worry that she's murdered people. That's a real. I really wonder. Like this Seth Rich shit.
I know. First of all, just leave. You don't even need to go there. You know,
there's so many other things.
Imagine the chaos. Rogan explains how Hillary handles scandals with the calmness of someone erasing her browser history while pretending nothing happened. He says her controversies always feel like multi-season dramas stretched out over years, each one packed with plot twists that seem written by interns who haven't slept. If there's a simple explanation, Hillary will find a way to turn it into a full political Netflix series. Rogan jokes that she survives public criticism with the durability of office furniture, stiff, unchanging, and somehow still standing after everyone else has given up. Now here's where it gets ridiculous. Rogan describes Hillary's charisma as a flickering light bulb, sometimes bright, sometimes dim, always leaving you wondering if you should call maintenance. He says she speaks like someone giving a deposition during happy hour, carefully, tightly, and with the constant fear that someone will misinterpret her sentence structure. She tries to relate to people the way corporate training videos try to teach teamwork, overly scripted, vaguely uncomfortable, and unintentionally comedic. Rogan jokes that Hillary has a talent for overcomplicating things so massively that even mathematicians get migraines. A straightforward situation becomes a 20-hour strategy meeting with charts, graphs, and 17 advisors giving contradictory opinions. He says her political tactics feel like a spy thriller written by someone who never actually met a spy. Every decision is treated like it has world-ending consequences, even when it's just greeting a crowd.
Different animal. See, like, if you get into some sort of verbal altercation with Joe Biden, there's no concern for your life. Like, I'm not saying it's real or not, but the rumor is always, there's a thing called
Joe
the Clinton
Biden
body
is like,
count.
yeah, Joe
I mean, I
Biden
don't know
is
if
like
that's
Uncle
real.
Joe.
I don't think it is real. It's probably some of it, most of it, let's say it's all made up. The fact that that's out there, that the thought is out there, that they will whack you.
Well, there's, I mean, the people who are saying, hey, look, you know, there are lists that are kept and your political career will be over. That was really the message that I got from people who've been around the block a few.
Here's the punchline. Rogan imagines Hillary walking into a debate with enough preparation to run NASA, but still fumbling the simplest question like it wasn't in the script. She has notes, backup notes, emergency notes for the backup notes, and somehow still reacts as if the question came from another dimension. It's like she downloaded too many debate tactics and her mental hard drive can't run all the programs at once. Rogan says every time she gets asked something unexpected, you can almost hear the internal processing sound. Now picture this meltdown. Rogan tears into Hillary's public persona, saying she delivers speeches with the raw enthusiasm of someone explaining tax deductions to a brick wall. She could announce groundbreaking news and still sound like she's reading parking regulations. Rogan jokes that if she ever spoke naturally, the teleprompter might file a complaint for abandonment. Rogan says Hillary treats interviews like courtroom interrogations, choosing every word with the caution of someone walking on a frozen lake with a hairline crack. She's so rehearsed that even her pauses feel programmed. When she tries to relax, it looks like a robot discovering emotions for the first time. Rogan imagines her practicing smiles in a mirror like a lab project, adjusting angles until her face meets the legal definition of approachable.
I always point out, like, people want to talk progressive. You want to talk, you know, being left wing, and she didn't even believe in gay marriage until 2013.
The best part was she was on NPR, which is this far right fringe organization, right? NPR, Terry Gross. And Terry Gross says, you used to be against gay marriage. You know, your husband passed DOMA, which made it a federal law that gay marriage won't be recognized by the federal government. And you changed your position. Like, how did that happen? Was it because Americans became, and Hillary's like, well, America changed their point of view. She goes, no, I understand Americans changed their point of view. What was your mental process? And she goes, no, Terry, you're saying that I changed my mind for political purposes, and that's not true. And
And the brain twist? Rogan goes after her adaptability, saying Hillary can survive political storms, but can't survive talking to a regular human without sounding like she's negotiating a treaty. She adjusts to voters like someone recalibrating a thermostat, slowly, cautiously, and with 12 unnecessary steps. Every attempt at being relatable feels like performance art. Stiff posture, awkward jokes, and references to pop culture that feel like they were researched 5 minutes before walking on stage. Rogan blasts Hillary's obsession with image control, saying she micromanages her own persona like she's editing a group project no one else contributed to. Everything is calculated. Hand gestures, tone, wardrobe, even the tilt of her head. And when something goes wrong, because something always goes wrong, she responds with the same expression as someone discovering they left the stove on. Rogan imagines Hillary's political machine as a giant hulking bureaucracy powered by expired coffee and old campaign slogans. Everything takes 17 approvals, 3 memos, and someone yelling, We need to pivot in the hallway. It's all outdated software pretending it's cutting edge. Rogan says if Hillary ever had to make a spontaneous decision, the entire system would shut down to install critical updates.
It doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
They were trying to get people supporting her just because she's a woman. This is going to be her history. You know, women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician. It's completely full of shit. She's been full of shit forever.
Now, feast on this, Rogan compares Hillary's presence to a Windows Update pop-up, persistent, unavoidable, and appearing at the worst possible time. Even when you think you've closed the window, it reopens 5 minutes later, asking if you're sure. She may not be running, she may claim she's done, but there she is again, talking, advising, appearing, resurfacing. Rogan says she would survive a political apocalypse through sheer determination and the inability to understand the word finished. Rogan describes Hillary's ongoing relevance like a house guest who insists they're leaving soon, but keeps finding new reasons to stay another week. She shows up at events, panels, and interviews, always perfectly timed, always perfectly polished, always answering questions no one asked. Here's where it gets theatrical. Rogan imagines Hillary returning to politics with dramatic music, fog machines, and a full production crew because subtlety is not her brand. She'd walk out smiling like this is her moment, again, armed with a binder full of plans, a PowerPoint presentation, and years of pent-up readiness. Rogan ends his roast by saying Hillary Clinton will always be the political equivalent of a cliffhanger ending, unfinished, unresolved, and mysteriously returning every few seasons, whether the audience wants it or not. He laughs, shaking his head because no matter how many times she steps back, she always finds a way to step forward again, like the world's most determined sequel.
If you watch the conversation between James Comey, when James Comey testified about what he did and what they found with the Hillary Clinton emails, and then her version of it, she's just a straight liar. She deleted 33,000 emails.
When I got to work as Secretary of State, I opted for convenience to use my personal email account, which was allowed by the State Department, because I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of two. Looking back, it would have been better if I'd simply used a second email account and carried a second phone, but at the time, this didn't seem like an issue.
Picture the return swing. Rogan leans back in his chair like he's watching a glitch loop in real time, saying Hillary Clinton has the uncanny ability to move through scandal the way seasoned fighters move through punches, without flinching. He says she absorbs criticism like a bunker absorbs explosions, silently, unbothered, and leaving everyone else confused about why the earth didn't shake. Rogan jokes that if resilience were a superpower, Hillary's origin story would involve a lab accident, 12 hearings, and a deleted email server glowing ominously in the background. She's the kind of person who could walk through a political hurricane and only pause to adjust her collar. Rogan riffs on how Hillary tries to appear spontaneous with the same comfort level as someone skydiving with a parachute manual in one hand and a calculator in the other. Rogan says when Hillary tries to be relatable, it's like watching a billionaire try to bond with customers at a grocery store. It's not that she's incapable, it's that she's playing a game on expert mode with the wrong controller. Even her jokes feel like they were workshopped by a focus group that didn't laugh, but politely nodded. Rogan imagines Hillary giving advice to younger politicians in the tone of someone who believes politics is a chess match played on a rotating table in a burning room. She offers tips like she's handing out ancient scrolls full of wisdom but wrapped in riddles and footnotes. He says every piece of advice sounds like it was forged in the fires of campaign losses and diplomatic brinkmanship. Hillary's mentorship, Rogan says, must feel like sitting through a TED Talk delivered by a history book that learned how to speak English yesterday.
It's the Clinton speaking fee. Like, no one wants to hear Hillary Clinton speak. Nobody ever has wanted to hear her speak. But if she's getting $400,000 from Goldman Sachs doesn't need to say, hey, by the way, you're going to get speaking fees.
Exactly.
She knows it.
That was why during the Trump debates with Clinton, he was like, release the transcripts of those speeches.
And what is the transcript? Hey, guys, do we really need to be here, or can I go home?
You know what I want. I want you guys to make money.
Will you agree to release these transcripts? They have become an issue.
Sure, if everybody does it, and that includes the Republicans, because we know they have made a lot of speeches. But look, what is this about? This is about whether I have the best plan to go after Wall Street, whether I have a record that already demonstrates my willingness to take on Wall Street and financial interests, and there's no...
Imagine the following absurdity. Rogan explains that Hillary approaches interviews with reporters like she's preparing to negotiate with a rogue nation. Each response is calibrated, filtered, polished, and sterilized. She doesn't answer questions so much as she deploys statements. Rogan jokes that she talks like someone who's always on the verge of revealing a government secret, but then remembers the cameras are rolling. Even small talk feels like classified information with clearance levels attached. Every word is deliberate, every phrase telegraphed. It's like she permanently lives at a podium. Rogan says if you ever took Hillary out for coffee, she'd unintentionally turn it into a press conference. She'd analyze the temperature, the cup, the environment, the espresso to water ratio, give a full assessment, deliver 3 key takeaways, then conclude with, "We'll be monitoring this closely." Even caffeine wouldn't loosen her up. Rogan imagines Hillary's inner circle functioning like a round table of medieval advisors, everyone whispering strategies, analyzing polls like omens, and treating each public appearance like a royal decree. Her advisors probably speak in hushed tones about optics, engagement rates, and who forgot to fact-check the latest speech draft. Rogan jokes that her team must live in perpetual fear of being blamed for any misstep, real or imagined. If the balcony curtains move the wrong way during a photo op, someone's writing an apology memo by morning.
I think they had some crazy odds of Hillary winning. It was like in the 90%. And we watched it from the Comedy Store. We did a podcast from the Comedy Store called the End of the World podcast. What was most fascinating was the podcast was over and then we all went to the bar, and on the television, Jake Tapper was just seriously bummed out, talking about Trump winning all these different states.
It is remarkable what we're seeing here, not just Ohio, but all over the country.
I think for a lot of people, that was the end of trust in mainstream media. That was the first nail in the coffin. That was to be like, you guys didn't, you were.
The extended finale is this. Rogan launches into a story imagining Hillary seeing a news camera across the street and transforming instantly into campaign mode version 3.0, shoulders back. Smile calibrated, tone optimized. He says she's the only person who can go from casual to formal in 0.4 seconds without spraining anything. Her public persona snaps into place like a tactical helmet. Rogan jokes that if you startled her with a camera while she was sleeping, she'd instinctively deliver a 3-minute policy breakdown before fully waking up. Rogan closes in on Hillary's uncanny ability to stay politically adjacent no matter where the wind blows. He says she's like a shadow in the corner of every political room, never the main character, but always visible, always waiting, always observing. Even when she's not running, she hovers at the edge of the stage like someone who knows all the plot twists before the audience does. Rogan says she doesn't need a campaign to be relevant. She just materializes in the discussion through sheer force of persistence. She's the political version of an app that keeps reinstalling itself after you delete it. You think she's gone, but by morning, she's back. Updated, patched, optimized, and ready to relaunch.